It was in 1976. I was 22 years old. I guess a big part of my story is I had never heard of NDEs or knew anything about it, so my experience was, I knew something happened, but I didn't know what to think about it in my mind, and that was actually kind of a good thing. But so I had been living in Colorado in the United States, and I came back to the Northeast to visit my parents, and I came back with my roommate, who also, his parents lived in the same area that mine did. And we went to a party, and so I took my mom's little Ford Bobcat, and he had a 280Z, a much fancier car. But I was at the party. I was drinking and smoking pot, and I felt a little high, but I didn't think I was too high to drive. But I kind of came up with a plot, I guess, to go back, leave my car there and go back the next day, because I thought the girl who was having the party was very cute. And the house was jam-packed, loud music, so it wasn't really, conducive to talking to her. So I had my friend drive me home with my plan to go back the next day, and almost back to my parents' house, I realized my sister needed to use my mom's car the next day, so I had my friend drive me back to the party. I went in to tell the girl, that I was taking my car and it wasn't going to be there. I didn't want her to worry. Leaving the party that time, I remember walking through the crowd towards the door, and, I often say this because, I very rarely drink now, but it was hazy and a little too bright, and I probably shouldn't have been driving. But in the 1970s, people weren't really thinking about that like they do now. So I remember heading towards the door. I have a little bit of memory in my mind of walking the path out. It was a suburban house towards where the car was parked. And then the next thing I remember, I was out of my body in the white light. The car was smashed down there. My body was leaning against a tree with my legs straight out. There was a police officer crouching over me. My experience was very feeling. I'm a very kinesthetic person anyway, so it just felt like the perfect summer day, or sometimes being in the water in the summer when the temperature is just perfect. And so I was in the white light. Behind me there was a circle of white, a different shade, and then within that circle there was a full-length silhouette of a being that was radiating different shades of white off of that. And I don't know how long it was. It didn't, when I tell the story, it's only very short, but it didn't feel that short, but it didn't feel like some people say they were there for years. It didn't feel like that either. The being behind me said, "You have to go back. Your father wants you to stay." I knew that at that moment the father he was talking about was God, not my physical father. Again, the experience was very feeling, like the love and the warmth. It seemed like everything made sense. Seeing my head was cracked open, didn't bother me a bit. And so when the being said, "Go back," and I say the being because I didn't even have the words to put on it at that time. The words came later when I started learning about this kind of stuff. And, in the spirit of everything's just good, because everything seemed perfect there. Everything. And it wasn't like this ta-da kind of thing. It was just very peaceful and everything was good. And so I went back into my body and I came to 3 days later in the hospital. I had some glimpses of kind of coming almost up to the surface over those 3 days, but I didn't have any spiritual experiences that I was aware of at that time. My words for it came later. A couple of things happened to me in that experience. One is my hands start to become warm when I touch people, and that still happens. My intuition definitely increased. Probably the biggest thing that really changed my life is I just started to meet people that were doing spiritual things and, healing. And after I recovered enough, I went back out to Colorado. My mom convinced me to come back east by bribing me with a new car. And, I was out there. I was working in a restaurant. I liked it, but it wasn't really my thing. I mean, I love to cook, but so I went into my dad's electrical contracting business. And I was sitting in my apartment one day in Tarrytown, New York, and someone knocks on the door. I got up and answered it, and there was this beautiful woman there, and she said she was a sister of a friend of mine from Colorado, one of the very few people I mentioned my experience to, because you talk about this, in those days, people would look at you like you're a little crazy. And she said, my sister told me some cool things about you, and I wanted to get to know you, but she also said she knew someone who teaches about what happens after we die. So this woman just shows up at my door without me doing anything, and she introduced me to my first spiritual teacher. When he first started to talk to me, then some of the things he said, it just like you get this ta-da kind of feeling. And so I knew, like, he was describing what I went through. He had the words to describe it. So first he started to talk to me about Mary. And he would say she was so open to the Christ energy and God's love. That's how she, manifested Jesus. And then when he started to talk to me about Jesus, it was like, whoa, that was Jesus behind me. And that the love, the openness that he talked about with Mary, that's what I experienced in that love. And he also talked about the ocean of divine love and benevolence. So he was a Sufi sheikh, which is an Islamic teacher. There's some variations on that ocean of divine love and benevolence, but that just really described, like I said, it was almost like being in an ocean of love. And then he talked to me about a lot more stuff, but that's when I first had the words to describe my experience. So in the beginning, it was very much in my hand. So I've been kind of writing a book for years. In the last few months, I've been getting more serious about it. And part of that is I realized I learned a lot about healing from that Sufi sheikh. When I started to do hands-on healing is where it really got to where I knew more of what I was doing, and it's kind of experiential. But so I started to study polarity therapy, which is a very gentle body work. It's kind of like acupressure, but even more gentle, where you're just holding points. And so it's like I had this information in my spirit or from my near-death experience. I had these really amazing experiences with the Sufi teacher. But when I started to do hands-on work is when I just kind of felt it in my body, I guess. And that progressed. I studied other kinds of body work. I did crystal healing for a while, and got into other things. And now what I do remote healing. I mostly work on Zoom. But the part of not knowing, even in the beginning, I think was really good for me because I needed to find out, and I learned a lot. I met a lot of people. I studied a lot. I knew I had this experience, and I just wanted to learn more about it. So I've been doing that ever since, which is many years ago. So this teacher was Islamic. I actually lived in Vancouver for a while because he was there, and there are these the whirling dervishes. He's not alive anymore. So, but there was a whole community. There was some other teachers there also. There was this one guy who owned this Turkish coffee house, and we would go in there late at night. You drink this little cup of coffee. It keeps you up all night. It's so strong. People are smoking cigarettes, which I don't particularly like, but the old-timers, I'm saying old-timers, they're probably my age now, that would tell these great stories. And this one guy, he would, he was trained to be like a warrior, and he told this story like he learned how to ride a horse and like duck over the side and shoot under the neck of the horse, and it was just these great stories, and a lot of wisdom that would come through there. So there probably are Sufis up there in Vancouver, but there might be anywhere. Well, what I do now is kind of like that because people kind of blow it out of proportion, but there are the positive things in spirit, luckily, and there are the negative things. So there's demons and entities, and they're around all the time, and they affect people at different amounts. But if normally someone's sick or having any kind of problems, the negative powers are there. They want to, they're looking for openings to come in, and in a funny way, their job is to strengthen us, but they're really good at trying to keep us from our spiritual awareness. But luckily, there's all the positive things. So there is Jesus, there is Abraham, there's Buddha, all the prophets and saints are there helping us. Sometimes, yes, I always do. Sometimes it's concrete, sometimes it's just energetic. Sometimes I need to talk to the person about something because there's a block in their consciousness. Sometimes I actually have to talk to people to kind of distract them because they're holding on to things. The positive spiritual energy that I work with will not violate someone's consciousness. So there has to be something in them that's open. Sometimes I get funny little bits of information. Sometimes it's, their deepest, darkest secrets. Sometimes it's things from other lifetimes. Sometimes it's just something that's blocking their consciousness, and it could be demons or entities. Those are the main two negative things that come in. I say a prayer at the beginning, and I keep it kind of generic so it, can be open to any person's spiritual or religious beliefs. Yes, there's a part of asking for the light to be around you and protect you. I do, after each session, do some clearing. I spend hours every day meditating. I do Tai Chi, I do yoga, I do journal writing, and there's another writing exercise I do that's really good for clearing stuff. I also get someone else's opinion who does what I do like once a week just to make sure, because I really want to stay clear, and the negative powers can be sometimes very subtle, and they're really good at tricking us, so it's good to get someone else's point of view. You ask for the Christ. What Jesus brought in gave people the authority over the negative things, but it's you want to have a number of tools in your toolbox, basically, so you can try different things. Again, our mind really wants to get something that's concrete. Like you're asked. So there's a saying I really like: if you can put your finger on it, it's not it. Which means if so you can ask for any of the saints or prophets. You could ask for the archangels. Purple color really helps. There's a thing, purple flame. A lot of times what I just do is if I feel something that's negative in me, I'll just imagine all this light coming into it. And sometimes I'll just say, Jesus, Holy Spirit, over and over again. But again, that's my thing. So again, the other, some of it matters what your karma is. It's funny in my case because a lot of times if you're not getting an intuitive hit, you want to go to the saint or prophet that's you try the saint or prophet that's connected to the religion you were born, because a lot of times that works. So you got to kind of try things and really stay present. So it would be easy to get, asking for the light of the Christ really is the biggest thing, but sometimes you got to do more. It feels sometimes like a pressure on my body, and sometimes even more of a pressure in my heart center here. Sometimes a couple of years ago, I started holding my hands up because I started working online and I wasn't touching people. And one of my friends said to me, "You've forgotten about the healing power of your hands." And it prompted me to start holding my hands up when I'm working with people. Sometimes my hands just start shaking. When a lot of negativity comes in, sometimes it's like this. But the people on the other end sometimes feel tingly, sometimes feel hot or cold, or all of a sudden they just smile and they just feel a whole lot lighter. there's always more to learn. And I'm always looking to do more and do better and better. And that part is, and you trust this wonderful thing inside of you, and you see this wonderful thing in other people, and it just like this energy comes in, and it's like this joy comes in, and then it's like, well, what do I even do with that? And it's almost like you trust your instinct and your intuition to guide you. But it's like anything, you know, some people can do it better. So I always try to teach my clients how to do some of this stuff, and in most cases I do it better. Sometimes the colors just come in without me initiating it, which is, I think, is kind of extra cool when that happens. And sometimes sometimes I add colors in. So I use purple a lot, green, orange, and pink. Those are the 4 ones. So pink is for loving, green is usually more for physical healing, orange is for clearing and like a gentle energy pick-me-up, and purple's for spiritual transformation. But sometimes it is, well, I'm not seeing much movement in the person, and I'll just get a feeling. So see, when I said that, something happened when I said the purple light. So it's probably affecting someone. And then it's like, so I said it, and then I feel this energy. It just feels like something's moving here. And then I go, okay, good, something's moving. And then I'll kind of hold that and honor that and respect that for a while and see how long the movement happens. The basic soul meditation is designed to soul travel, so which I think a lot of people don't understand. That might be what they're doing. So it's to travel to a high, so there's the astral level, which is very similar to the physical level. The soul levels, I mean, we talk about it like this, but the soul level is when I experience it, it's what I experience in my near-death experience. It just is a lot of love and a lot of warmth and knowing beyond what you can even think of, and the healing starts to come in. So usually when I do that, after I do the meditation for a while, first it's kind of like, out there, and then all of a sudden something will happen and the energy will just come into my body. So there's usually 2 parts to it, and that part is the healing energy coming in. Baby Yoda, that's Baby Yoda. So yeah, I mean, it makes my heart smile. And yeah, the other one, I have a little, actually that's a little Rumi puppet, and then the other one's Merlin the Magician. Those are like my 3 heroes. Yeah. Sometimes I think it varies with who I'm working with. Sometimes it's kind of like they're specialists in the spirit and they come in for a certain problem. Sometimes pets come in, or past loved ones come in too, to help people, which is nice. Planning for some electrical work, and I like to do the hands-on work, and just doing things, saying thank you to people, being kind, smiling at people, just choosing into that good stuff as much as you can. But also be gentle and loving with yourself, because it's not like, oh, I'm going to think one good thought and my whole life's going to change. It's an ongoing work. Perfection is a state of progress. So you look at your progress as being perfect. I mean, I have enough stuff written and enough videos where I've told my story, so I'm just kind of putting it together now. Well, I've had a lot of great successes. It's kind of like part of us gets so involved with living our karma, we get a little stuck in it. So there becomes things that are kind of unnecessary. One of my clients years ago on one of the sessions said, it's almost like a file, and there are like 100 pages in there, and we only need 2. So I can get rid of those other 98 and make it much lighter. If someone's having a struggle in this lifetime, there's something from another lifetime that it's connected to. And just by talking to them about it and inviting in the spiritual masters to help, and sometimes it is colors, sometimes there's some forgiveness, sometimes just doing like a mindfulness, breathing, and not getting all bent out of shape about it can help. But then again, I just kind of hold the energy there for some of that to clear, and it does. Meditating, the journal writing, doing forgiveness for yourself, being of service, be honest, mostly really with yourself as much as you can, and finding teachers, because usually there's teachers out there that are, know more than you spiritually without letting your ego get involved, that help from someone who knows more than you is really helpful. Usually people really feel the energy, and the energy part is the loving that comes through. I mean, I just love it. So it is in my videos, but it's this thing of this energy comes in, and I love it so much, and I just kind of share it through my heart.